We will move on to the next speaker, and that is Alex Zhavoronkov, the co-chair of this meeting. Alex, are you there from Hong Kong?
Yes, can you hear me? And can you see me?
Yes, and Alex is the CEO of Insilico Medicine and Deep Longevity also, I guess. And we very much look forward to your talk, Alex.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today, Morten. And I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if it works, because I've got more screens than usual. Let's see. How about that?
Perfect. We see it.
Yeah, great. So let me just reposition Zoom. So great pleasure to present our work today. My talk is not going to be scientific today. So if you are looking for protein networks and specific applications of deep learning to drug discovery, this is not the talk. I have separate talks for that, and several of our team members and collaborators presented at different conferences this week, including at this one. So today I'm going to be talking about our journey and the commercial aspect of longevity biotechnology, where we apply AI for drug discovery to longevity biotechnology. How do we commercialize? So here is my WeChat QR code and also my Twitter. Gerontology is easy. So as Morten has mentioned already, so I represent two companies, Insilico Medicine, which is specializing in AI for drug discovery, and Deep Longevity, which just recently got acquired by Region Pacific. More on that later. And full disclaimer, it's a publicly traded company, so lots of disclaimers there, which is focusing on the biomarkers of aging and longevity medicine. So and here is myself in a mask, right at the place where I spend most of my time, the Hong Kong Science Park. So as Dr. Kai-Fu Lee presented in the beginning of this wonderful conference, next generation AI, or deep generative reinforcement learning, can power and accelerate multiple areas of biotechnology and biomedical sciences, and not only biomedicine, also psychology and many other areas of human development. We specialize in both companies in deep generative reinforcement learning. What it is, in brief, it's generative adversarial networks, kind of AI imagination, very commonly used for making deepfakes, and reinforcement learning. It's AI strategy, commonly used for outcompeting humans in video games. So we combine those two and use this AI for aging research, biology, chemistry, medicine, and even psychology nowadays. So at Insilico, we use this technology for biomarker discovery, generation of synthetic data, target identification, molecular screening, molecular generation, clinical trials analysis. And at Deep Longevity, we use it for biological age prediction and monitoring, biomarker development, also target identification, and also real-world data analysis, and even mental health, depression, motivation, behavioral modification. So I'll briefly cover Insilico Medicine. You can find us at insilico.com, very easy. And the company is focused on, as I've mentioned, target discovery, generative chemistry, virtual screening and annotation, so we can identify novel targets, generate molecules for them, or find them in novel molecular libraries, and also build actuarial models for phase 1, phase 2 clinical studies. We are kind of a hybrid which develops AI as software. So we partner with big pharmaceutical companies, and we've partnered with many. So if you look at our history, we partnered, I think, with 9 out of the top 10 in the past, or did some kind of work. We also provide software, recently started doing that. So AI is an operating system. However, the most value in drug discovery, drug development, as you know, comes from those mined assets that you are developing. That is either an antibody or a small molecule or some other kind of therapeutic going through clinical trials or preclinical work. So we have our own internal preclinical pipeline. Currently, it consists of several therapeutic programs, primarily in cancer and fibrosis. And we've already demonstrated that we can use our AI software to identify novel targets and also generate small molecules. This is the most important slide for anybody getting into drug discovery, drug development, by Steve Paul back then at Eli Lilly, who wrote a wonderful paper on how to improve R&D productivity, the pharmaceutical industry's grand challenge. Back then when he wrote it, the cost of drug discovery, drug development was about 1.3, 1.6 billion. 2013, it went all the way to 2.6 billion. And this process consists of primarily discovery, so where you are working on the target hypothesis and then identify a set of targets or a target, identify the disease mechanism, design a drug, take this drug through preclinical work, validation in animals, cells, and both, and then take it into development in human phase 1, phase 2 clinical trials, and then you complete phase 3 and launch it on the market. So this process takes a decade usually and fails 90% of the time. Specifically in phase 2, as you have seen some of those studies failing in our industry, like Unity Biotechnology, and sadly, Somamed, and in phase 3 we saw a failure in Restor Bio. So this is actually very, very common in pharmaceutical industry. So for a nascent field like longevity, we're going to see more of those. And until we succeed, we just need to try. And for that, we developed a very comprehensive AI pipeline that can cater to pretty much every phase of the pharmaceutical R&D, from target hypothesis, target to hit, hit to lead, lead optimization, early preclinical work, and even actuarial planning for phase 1, phase 2 clinical trials. So, and we have a really cool success that I haven't announced or I haven't published yet. So in 2018, we've identified a range of targets for fibrosis. On fibrotic targets, we prioritized them. We generated molecules for them in 2018 that we also prioritized, confirmed the efficacy of those molecules and those targets in a big pharma assay, took it back, regenerated the new compounds, using more advanced algorithms. They're very nice, very selective, tested in cells, tested in mice, in multiple fibrotic disease models. And now we are preparing to go IND enabling. So that's our highlight. We will, of course, have many more stories like that. Very rare story for fibrosis. And what enabled us to get there is deep learning. So we kind of went from 0 to 1 very quickly. You probably remember me from many conferences. And specifically, we were also presenting on this. So this is a history of deep learning, not a new concept. Commonly used term, neural nets, since 1943. And only in 2014, this new technology, generative adversarial networks, emerged and very rapidly established itself as one of the most used keywords at most of the top AI conferences. And what we did, we very quickly realized that this technology can be used to very quickly generate novel molecular entities, novel structures for the desired proteins of interest. And we started publishing on that. So our first peer-reviewed paper was in 2016. Then we published, tried to get to experimental validation in 2017, 2018, experimentally validated finally. And in 2018, we developed and tested and validated the really cool algorithm called GenTrol, Generative Tensorial Reinforcement Learning System, which allowed us to demonstrate that for a given protein target nominated by a validation partner, like DDR1 kinase, for example, not a novel target, but with lots of information, but still it's pretty cool stuff because we don't specialize in drug discovery. We could very quickly, in 21 days, generate a range of compounds, validate it very synthesized very quickly, validate it very quickly, confirmed in vivo data, and published a Nature Biotech paper that became quite famous. actually more famous than more famous than deserved, because we have many better models in house. And then so in 2018 we took those generative pipelines, connected them to virtual screening, and then we integrated them into a very comprehensive platform with more than 500 medicinal chemistry filters, more than 30 models, lots of data, lots of preliminary screening, and then we turned it into a software platform. So now a big pharma company that is collaborating with us can actually license this entire platform, put it in-house, and use it to generate small molecules with the desired molecular properties. So it's very recent. So if you work for a big pharma company, please contact us, and you would be able to test the power of this AI yourself, and you can also build your own models. At Insilico, we specialize again in target identification. We use aging very often as a target ID system. I'll show you how. We generate small molecules and predict the outcomes of clinical trials. We try to be as credible as possible, publishing in peer-reviewed journals. We publish around 1 to 2 papers every month, as you can see from our publication history, in reasonably good journals. We usually try to publish the proof of concept and internally commercialize and provide that to the big pharma partners, or use it internally to generate small molecules. And you would be able to go to insilico.com/platform to see how this platform works. Pandomics is our target discovery platform. Very soon, I cannot tell you exactly when, but in basically 1 or 2 months guidance, you would be able to use it yourself online and discover novel targets for your disease of interest, either using the data in the platform, so you don't need to start with anything, or uploading your own data. And our idea is to digitize drug discovery, disrupt this process, and of course, democratize, so scientists, bench scientists would be able to start companies. And now I'll switch gears to deep longevity, which just spun off out of Insilico, because Insilico's focus is drug discovery, drug development. We have a lot of projects on our plate, and longevity for some time was deprioritized. As you know, we raised from some of the world's most credible investors specializing in biotech and AI, who did very tough due diligence. And we had to deprioritize longevity for some time. However, we recently spun this off and also sold the company to a public company. So hence the disclaimer. So whatever I say, please do not take it as any investment advice, no financial guidance, no blah, blah, blah. So we don't, I mean, you are not investors, I hope. And please don't buy the stock based on this presentation. But talking about the stock, so today the news kind of went out, and despite being a very down day, so you know, the stock market was down 2% in Hong Kong, and all the stock market is down, but this one went up over 100%, and now it's almost 80% up. So very cool. If you are interested in the science behind this company, the best way to do this very quickly is to go to Scholar, find Polina Mamoshina, who presented earlier. She is the Chief Science Officer, Chief Operating Officer of the company, and you will be able to very quickly trace some of our work all the way to 2016, when we started our journey in deep biomarkers of aging. And again, aging is a very dear topic to my heart, but it's for most of us, it's you know, humanity's greatest humanitarian and economic challenge that we choose to deprioritize. So we prioritize either immediate you know, events, talking about, you know, presidents of countries, elections, etc., trying to compete you know, as countries, as companies, but we really ignore it. And it's also the elephant in our brain and the source of many of our hidden motives that we actually choose and evolve to ignore. I highly recommend everybody on this call to read a book or listen to it on audio called The Elephant in the Brain, which actually talks a lot about human hidden motives, and I hope to publish on some of those kind of thoughts in this book, also a research paper on psychology of aging. So as you know, nature is unfair, so we don't really, we don't have an option to set ourselves on a path of continuous improvement. We reach our peak of performance and then we decline. So whatever we do, it's kind of is not wasted, but you don't get to enjoy it for a very long time. We naturally got to accept it. If you are looking for novel preventative medicine that is currently out there, there is not much to offer. People are looking at you within the context of the patients, within the context of your reference range, trying to get you to the top of your abilities within your age group. Also, doctors' memory is very limited, and that's where AI comes in and can be a very powerful tool. And what we realized in 2015, that usually when you have a lot of disconnected data and your data looks like Swiss cheese, one feature is always there, it's age. And it's also one of the features that it's a very innocent feature. It's not a disease, right? It's not classified as a disease. So that data is usually present in the data set. And we started training deep neural networks on many, many different data types to predict age. And as Dr. Kaifu presented on the first day, AI outperforms humans in most tasks if it gets exposed to enough data. We showed how those systems work in blood tests and transcriptomics, in proteomics, metabolomics. We have picture-based predictors, activity-based predictors, behavior-based predictors, and we also show how to make them interpretable, how to identify relevant pathways, targets, causal graphs, and even what you cannot do with a standard biomarker, and that's a very usual question, like, well, how are they different from other biomarkers? We can use them to generate synthetic data. I can now turn it into a GAN and generate 1 billion people with different desired ages, with desired features. So you cannot do that without GANs. And another thing that we started doing a lot is we train on age in moderately healthy population, and then we retrain on a population with some disease. And then we basically identify promising targets by looking at the weights, relative changes in weights of those neurons that generalize the patterns. And if you do it by age group, for example, you can also establish causality within the processes of aging. We published this in 2015 in Frontiers with Bhupinder Bular, basically classifying aging as a disease in the context of ICD-11 when it was relevant, to understand better how the various age-associated processes crystallize into diseases and transform into diseases. So it's a very difficult question, very difficult to track this transition, but it's possible to do this with those deep aging clocks. And we developed many aging clocks, as I've mentioned. We have a microbiomic aging clock, a transcriptomic aging clock. Some of them have granted patents, hematological aging clocks, photo aging clocks, behavior clocks. We actually file those patents not to specifically protect ourselves, but to demonstrate that we did that in the right time. We developed a score called Hmetric, so very similar to Altmetric by Nature Publishing Group, which even if you start with 0, you don't know anything about the patient. You have just the chronological age and maybe a little bit of data, like maybe if you ask them how old do they feel, it already starts looking at the overall score. So the more clocks you integrate, the better granularity of the person you get, of the patient profile. So we should not be limited to just one data type, like methylation or blood tests or lab tests or anything else. So we try to integrate that using this Hmetric score. We can also train on more than one data type, but that's a little bit different philosophy. And we do this to be able to educate and involve patients, also get better anamnesis and data, comprehensive longitudinal diagnostics, and a term that I'm coining, hopefully today, identify what we call longevity bottlenecks. So those clocks that are ticking faster and where you really need to intervene to be able to extend the life of the entire organism, because in some areas you might be very healthy, but somewhere you're weaker. So let's identify this weak spot and see if we can manipulate it with some interventions to provide the benefit to the rest of the body. So also we can personalize and identify personalized risk trajectories. And of course, the goal is to slow down and reverse aging. We've published kind of a perspective on that with Scinovation Ventures. So Dr. Li Kai-Fu is the founder of Innovation Ventures, the best AI fund probably in the world. And we show that those aging clocks can be practically applied in many areas. So currently we're developing a system called Young AI Web. You would be able to test it very soon. Actually, if you want to be a beta tester, and if you are if you are dedicated to this field, and if you are willing to provide test reports, and especially if you are a celebrity who wants to promote the use of AI in aging research, please contact me or Polina, and we would be happy to provide you with test access to both the app and the web, because we also are launching a mobile app that integrates many clocks. We actually are data type agnostic, so we can integrate many data types. And we recently partnered with HumanLongevity Inc. As I've mentioned, you can go there, take a very comprehensive diagnostic, really amazing company, more than $500 million spent over the past 5 years on developing those systems. It's really elite customer base as well. So people who really take care of their health and are spoiled by physicians, they still go there. It's kind of a matter of prestige a little bit as well. But you generate a lot of data, 150 gigabytes, and we can calculate aging clocks based on that. I know I'm almost done, so give me just 2 more minutes. Martin, can I kill it or?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So modern medicine looks at frailty. Future medicine should look at geroprotection and AI augmented biological markers of biological age, and look at healthy, productive longevity. So we are trying to invent the new field of longevity medicine, which I define as AI-powered preventative medicine, intended to track down, slow down, and reverse aging. So in this kind of context, using AI-assisted machinery, and AI does not forget. It can train on population data. It can train on you in the context of your lifespan, and try to get you as close to your optimal level of performance as possible using any available intervention. So if you like to collaborate with us, we're very interested in collaborating with clinics. So we're working with several clinical partners. We're adding more. You can get Hmetric reports, comprehensive Hmetric reports, tailored to whatever data types you can derive from your patients, and you control the data. We provide longevity recommendation systems, very basic and also very advanced, and also education and training. That's something that we will start doing in November. For laboratory test providers, come to us for inclusion of your lab into Young AI system. You would be able to customize biological age predictors. So we're not competing with you, we're actually giving it to you. And scientists, so one of the reasons people are asking me, okay, why did you sell? Why did you want to become public? Well, now we're public and there is equity, there is stock. So we can either grant stock or people can buy stock, and they can engage in research collaborations to ensure that their IP, if it gets plugged into this ecosystem, it gets commercialized and they benefit. So now we can in-license the aging clocks, we can in-license the interventions, and we can make people really benefit from their work. And we are also, so a big thing, we're working on a course currently called Longevity Medicine course for physicians. So we started working with multiple physicians. It's really difficult to break through the glass of physician behavior and physician mindset right now, because they don't have the time. They don't have the time to learn very often. They need to service the patients and they need to work by the protocol. So we will launch an online course for longevity medicine. We'll explain what are the biomarkers of aging, how to use them, what is the latest and greatest in geroprotectors, what are the experimental protocols, what are the best practices, what are the case studies. So we are inviting MDs and MD PhDs to collaborate. It's a large group that we are working with right now, also including Alexei Moskalyov, who is providing huge insights into this. Evelyn Bischoff, MD from Germany, living in Shanghai and practicing longevity medicine already, or gero-oncology. We're also working with Morton. We're also working with multiple other collaborators and internally to develop this course. So please join. We'd be happy to launch it with you, and to finally get to this point where we can really practice what we preach. because I think, I am over 40, and you are in the age where your H index is catching up, but you cannot really transform your H index into additional years or finances into additional years. So it's really not about ambition to promote yourself or to gain more resources to do more research. We really need to start fixing this problem, and unfortunately, there is not much time. So let's go into longevity medicine. You can add me on WeChat or email me, and this is Insilico's slide, but yeah, we basically are deep longevity. Thank you so much, and I would like to pass the word back to Morten. I will be on Slack. I'll answer the questions there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Really appreciate it. Great presentation.